You just heard Barnaby Brown, and I'm going to read a poem by a character called Tandy Kumar. Tandy Kumar is an Indian poet who writes for a poetry magazine called The Boot. I'll say more about that later. First of all, I'll just read a poem by Tandy Kumar called The One-Eyed Philosopher of Kathmandu. The more a man wants, the less he gets. So said the one-eyed philosopher of Kathmandu over hot goat's urine and baked goat turds. That spring day, I bumped my mountain bike up those steep, twisty roads to his green hut, camouflaged with lurid, sticky green creepers. A bespectacled parrot was his sole companion, and it chanted at regular intervals, "Death comes to those fools who are never expecting him." The philosopher took out his glass eye to rub, then replaced it in its socket. Typical of a bird, he said, to be so sure of great death's agenda. I myself, he continued, know nothing about it, beyond the fact it's a cliff top, and we all must take the bewildering step off the edge into space. And you, my young poet, he said, addressing me, be sure in your scribing to speak of that space, and nothing else. And then you may get everything.
The Boot.
The Boot, yes, I have to talk about The Boot, the magazine in which these poems appear. The Boot is the oldest established and most respected senior literary journal, poetry journal, in the United Kingdom.
It's really the poetry review, but anyway.
Yeah. And edited by the editor's name is Damien Krapp, spelled K-R-A-P-P, like Samuel Beckett's character. And The Boot, where the story begins, The Boot is under threat because the Arts Council have threatened to withdraw its grant, rather like the English language theatre in which we are currently sitting.
Yeah.
And there is one whole chapter devoted to the fact, to a convocation of all the editorial board and associated poets who meet the Arts Council man who has come to deliver the guillotine blow and tell them there will be no money for future issues. So Damien Krapp, the editor, is faced with, well, it's a terrible blow because he has devoted his life to this magazine. It's his baby, it's his pride and joy. How on earth is he ever going to manage? Because he simply cannot continue to publish unless he has subsidy. That's the way it is with poetry. And then he gets a mysterious phone call from someone with a Welsh accent. And the Welsh accent, the Welsh accented voice, promises a way out of Damien Krapp's problem and suggests that they should meet in order to discuss this. And Matthew will now read from the Celtic River.
This extract has been already published in a very nice Irish magazine called The Moth. Damien Krapp got off the 205 bus at the Angel at the beginning of City Road and was almost knocked down by a dreadlocked child on a push scooter. Was a near miss a good omen before entering a cemetery? He'd had another telephone call that morning from the Welshman Robert Rees, who had asked Krapp to meet him at 4 p.m. at William Blake's grave. In the past, Krapp wouldn't have thought twice about ignoring such a cranky invitation. But 2 days previously, the Boot's solicitors had informed him by mail that a wealthy patron named Robert Rees wished to make a substantial donation to the magazine, provided that Damien would agree to meet the said Robert Rees and agree to certain conditions. This had been followed up by today's phone call. Krapp had tried to find out what the meeting would entail, but Rees would say nothing until they had met. After putting the receiver down, Crap had realized he didn't know where Blake's grave was. Reese's number had not appeared in the display on his telephone, so it was not possible to call back. Calling Eric Lemon into the office, Crap had asked him to look on the internet. It turned out the poet was buried in Bunhill Fields near the Angel. The sky was grey, and there was a penetrating drizzle which his broken-winged umbrella was directing into his collar. Why had he left the warmth of his office? Money? The possible salvation of the boot? The magazine had enough funds to see them through the spring and summer issues. After that, there would not be enough money to pay the rent on the premises, let alone the printer. Subscriptions, despite all his best efforts, had not increased since he had taken over the editorship. At least they had not decreased. He was not prepared to have the magazine become, as the jargon had it, user-friendly. He did not believe in encouraging the writing of poetry in people who would be better off learning to play an instrument or doing yoga. In his opinion, poets were made by the severity of the obstacles that were placed in their path. Indeed, Crap was proud of his own role as an obstacle. He was a scrupulous editor. At the same time, he loved the magazine and was desperate to save it. If the Welshman was serious, this offer could be the solution to the magazine's problems. But what would Crap have to offer in return? And why couldn't the man have come to Tavistock Square instead of this ridiculous pilgrimage to the grave of a balmy poet? Crap detested the oracular strain in poetry, and Blake, he thought, was responsible for a lot of it. He found Bunhill Fields and trudged across gravel, dodging pools of water, until he came to a small headstone. Here lie the remains of the poet and painter William Blake, it read. Born 1757, died 1827. Bloody hippie, thought Crap. Give him Wordsworth any day. And where was this man Rees?
Did I keep you waiting?
Crap spun round and found himself confronted by a red-bearded man in an oilskin coat and a sou'wester. He looked like a North Sea trawler man.
Rotten day, isn't it?
What's the point of meeting here, Mr. Rees? We could have met in my office.
But how would I have known there wasn't someone listening in another room?
This is all very conspiratorial.
What's conspiratorial about meeting at the grave of England's most celestially inspired poet? Did you know that on the afternoon of his death, Blake burst out singing due to the joy of the things he saw in heaven? I am sure he is poet in residence up there.
Damien Crap swallowed. Do you think we could go to a pub, perhaps, somewhere dry?
The Angel? Said Rees. It would be appropriate.
I don't care what it's called. I just want to get out of this rain. They walked back up City Road in rain augmented by wind strong enough to blow Crap's umbrella inside out, breaking another rib in the process. He flung the useless thing into a litter bin attached to a lamppost. His wet hair became slicked back to his skull, and his woolen coat was not even shower-proof. By the time they reached the Angel, he was soaked and shivering. The pub was almost empty, it being early evening. They found a quiet corner, and Damien spent some time taking off his coat, shaking it with vigor, and dabbing at his face and neck with a handkerchief.
You look to me as if you need a drink, Mr. Crap.
I'll have a vodka, a grey goose if they have it. Make it a double. Rees returned with a drink and a sparkling mineral water and placed them on the table, then took off his wet oilskins, which he dumped on the floor. He sat down opposite Crap.
You're in luck. Not only do they have your brand of vodka, they also have quite